We are back in Italy and in the analog world, and today we are going to take a look of the entry level of Gold Note, the Turntable Valore 425 Plus. We saw in the past also the 425 Lite from Gold Note that actually was the entry level, but is no more in production. And a small spoiler, the Gold Note Valore Plus, it won't be a entry level for a long time, but I didn't say nothing. Analog world, I miss you guys, I know. It's been a while that I didn't review a phone stage or a turntables, but I love also headphones, home theater, speakers review. So, by the way, a big thanks to Gold Note that sent it to me the turntable with the Vasari Shibata new cartridges that we are going to speak about it also today. And as always, I'm here to share with you my honest opinions about it. So let's do it. Valore 425 Plus is the evolutions of the Valore turntables that was produced by Gold Note since 2010. Available in 4 different finishes, it features 30mm thick plinth, also available in acrylic. Platter is a POM 22mm thick and the 9-inch Tonearm has a straight design. The plinth look just incredibly solid. It's the most solid plinth that I review. I didn't review many turntables, but it's really beautiful and really smooth to the touch. Love it. Really interesting are the processing on the plinths, which according to Gold Note are done to avoid vibrations as far as possible. Gold Note approach designs, I would probably define it classic, right? It's minimalist, it's really clean, almost vintage. All of it are coming with a unique shapes, unfortunately are not adjustables and unable to hold the turntables in a solid place positions. But the whole system is enough heavy, I think 10 kilograms if I'm not wrong, to let it solid and films when you change record. I saw also some reviewers that had rubber spikes washers instead the metals ones that are coming with the 425 Plus, but I personally not agree with these solutions because you are going to modify the ground mechanical energy sink that is working really good on these turntables. It's a belt-driven design, it's coming with a 12-volt synchronous motor that is providing a really quick initial response and high powers that will make your turntables reach the speed really quickly. The 425 comes in a really well made double box, where you will find all you need to assemble the turntables, like oils, bearings and belt. It's funny because every time I do an unboxing of a turntables with all these small components everywhere, I'm always worried about when I will have to send it back. So I try always to do my best, but in the end is just put everything inside and send it back. So I found the setup of the Valore Plus easy. Okay, maybe if you never did it, by the way, the instructions are really well made. And all you have to do is insert the ball bearing in the plinth housing, taking care to center it. I help myself with a small tool. Then a small drops of oils on the spindles before to insert it inside the bearing housing, and you are ready to position the platter on the spindle. And all you have to do is tighten everything with the tip. That is also available in the accessories. And after that, what I did was to checking the platter if it has some play in this vertical position, right? And I found a very small play, so I had to tighten the tip a little bit more. If you are new in the analog world turntables, I did a basic video explaining all the components that you can find in the turntables, right? So I will just link it in the description. And finally, you are ready to wrap the belt around the pulley, connecting the power supply and the turntable speed control. That I like to call it black box, is a black box, for 33 and 45 RPM. It's giving you also the possibility to adjust the pitch, and you will find in the box a protractor and a strobo disc. So Gold Note is really giving you everything to set up correctly at turntables. How I do the setup, or how I did the setup, well, with AnalogMagik, that is a distortions analyzer software tools able to give you the possibility to check and see what you are doing. Also link in descriptions if you want to know more about it. Regarding the black box, I find it slightly annoying if you don't have enough space closer to your turntables that fortunately have fits that are high enough to hide it under it. Probably they wanted to maintain the structure of the plinth more rigid possible, I don't know, but it's not a deal breaker. It's coming with a detachables dust cover that is really heavy, really thick, but it has a main issue, could be a main issue for you. For me was only when the turntables was in these positions, because as you see it stops only on 90 degree and not on middle positions. So be sure to have enough space, or you can remove the bracket. Actually, let's do it. Here we go. If you remove these two and the two that are also on the turntables, you will have a removable dust cover. Of course, you have to place it and remove it all the time. The Valore 425 is coming with a standard felt mat. I prefer rubber because I don't like the dust coming from the felt. So not a deal breaker, just change it if necessary. But now let's speak about the Tonearm. The Valore 425 Plus is coming with a pre-assembled B5 tone arm. It's a 9-inch alu tone arm. Straight tone arm that is giving you also the possibility to adjust VTA, anti-skating and azimuth. The external cable 1.5 meter custom pole DIN RCA that probably will not make happy to have at home already an expensive RCA Phono cable, and I wish to see a standard connections. B5 that derives from the more expensive B5.1 tone arm. And the difference between the two are that the B5 bearing are made in Japan and the B5.1 mount customs made in Germany micro bearings. I noticed a minimum play in XY positions, but it looked at is not nothing that could compromise the sound quality. By the way, the tone arm appears solid, pretty heavy actually when you lift it with your hand. And funny, my experience with this tone arm, I probably cannot call it a love at first sight. I found it a little bit tricky and not suitable for a everyday cartridge exchange, so for sure not for YouTuber or audio reviewer. But if you find your cartridge, your setup, and you won't let it on the turntables, then you will not have such problems, right? Cue mechanism is fantastic, smooth, precise, probably one of the best that I ever tested. But I cannot say the same about the counterweight, that features O-ring inside instead a classic thread. Is good because you can fix it with a screw after you adjust the tracking force, right? But I broke, unfortunately, 2 O-rings during the setup, and I was not happy about it. Sorry, Gold Note. By the way, you can probably use some grease, something that could help you to avoid this. So you see, that's why we review product first, to give you this type of suggestions and avoid this stuff. I test the Valore Plus with 3 different cartridges. First the new Gold Note Valore Shibata, then the Orthophone Quintet Bronze, and in the end the Sumiko Bluepoint 3 Low version. And I connect everything to my reference systems that is coming with a Phono stage from Parasound, the beautiful JC3 Plus, one of my favorite Phono stage. Then we find my babies here, the Serafino Traditions. That's the first generations, a new one arrived but I didn't test it yet. And as preamp I have the Cambridge Audio H&Q, and as power amplifier the Macintosh MC312. Everything reviewed. I will let also this in description. So what I learned from these times that I spent with the Valore 425 Plus. First things, it has a let's call it limited height adjustment for the VTA. And when I fitted, for example, with the orthophone quintet bronze, I couldn't reach a correct VTA. I missed something like 1 millimeter, so was really not so much. So the quintet bronze didn't perform as I was expecting on these turntables. When I paired the quintet bronze with the Pro-Ject RPM 9s, I found that it was a beautiful synergy between the two. Here I found it probably too much warm on the bottom end and a mid-range that was too much dull. I worked also on the impedance setups. I tried to change phono stage, but I was really not satisfied. So I probably will be careful to pair the quintet bronze, at least for my subjective opinion. But moving on the Sumiko and the Vasari, things become more interesting. With the Sumiko, I had to remove one counterweight, since it's a really light cartridge, only 6 grams. And of course I broke another O-ring. I measured a really good lateral resonance of 11.9 kHz, instead the excellent 8.7 Hz of the Vasari Shibata. Both was performing really well on the Valore Plus, but it's not a cartridge review and I won't try to isolate the cartridge sounds from the turntable, something that I did because I test the same cartridges also on other turntables like the Argon Audio GT4 and the Pro-Ject RPM 9. And that's what I did. So let's speak about the sound quality of the Valore Plus 425. By the way, the review of the cartridge Sumiko, Vasari and Orthophone Quintet comparison is coming. So stay tuned. Look at that tip. The Valore 425 Plus sounds really solid and neutral with a top-end extensions that was incredibly good and a beautiful note decay. Incredibly musical, is painting a vivid and full of character pictures of the recording. Good enough, but not the best when it's come to reveal micro, ultra teeny micro details that are hid in the recording when compared, for example, to more expensive turntables like my reference Pro-Ject RPM 9. I know probably it could sound a little bit unfair to compare it with a more expensive turntables, but I wanted to have a reference and understand where I am, since I don't have turntables in this price range. Something interesting where on the RPM 9s is pitch black. You even got this noise coming from the motor that you hear it coming from the woofer. Probably you did this test already to put your ears on the tweeter and on the woofer. So there was really pitch black, but at least here is audible only when you are really closer to the speaker. And I understand to prefer a classical chassis turntable designs to the RPM 9s that has a separate motor from the plinth, something that you hear and make the difference. That's also why I choose it as a reference table. What really surprised me from the 425 is if you knock on the plinth, probably you did it, let me know the results. If you did not, you will hear nothing, and I say nothing coming out from the woofer, something that I experienced with more cheaper turntables. By the way, even without a pitch black imaging like the RPM 9 precisions in stylus tracking, thanks to a great cartridge Tonearms combo, when was fitted for example with the Vasari or the Sumiko, was able to highlight dynamics passages with a realistic and explosive presentations. And if was slightly unfair to compare it probably to the RPM 9s, I didn't find it trivial at all compared with a more affordable turntables like the TT4 that we reviewed, where I noticed that dynamic and transient and overall musical balance was night and day difference, with the Valore Plus that was more clean, open, rich, and you never felt the sense of coldness and aggressiveness and insecurity, a characteristic that I saw in many cheaper turntables, that are not bad at all, don't get me wrong, but the difference is there, you feel it and you hear it. Thanks to AnalogMagik Distortions Analyzer, I was able to perform some basic tests on the turntables. And if you want to know more about it and why I think it is a game changer in the cartridge setup, take a look of my review. First test was speed and I measured 3.158 kHz instead 3.150, so it was a little bit high and I was not happy about it. Since I finally read the instructions, manuals that are explaining you how to set up the pitch with the black box console, something really easy and really quickly. Great. The speed was perfect and I moved to wow and flutter. Here basically all under 0.2% is good, since your ear will not notice the difference, and I measure 0.19 on 33 RPM and 0.22% on 45 RPM. Not excellent, but good enough. For example, on TT4 surprised me that we measure something like 0.1%. Crazy. Next test was vibrations, and here we are going to check bearings and constructions problem that could impact the sound quality. And basically vibration could come from outside, maybe you are dancing during the record, spinning, or coming from inside, so motor rumble, right? And with AnalogMagik and intermodulations distortions, also I will add the link that will tell you more details about how this measure is done. You are able to isolate these vibrations and understand if they are bad or not. A good setup should yield a number lower than 2 to 3% of intermodulation distortions, and I measures 4.6% on the left channels and 2.5% on the right channel. So I can definitely say that measures good. Not outstanding, but good enough to give you a at least good objective point of view. So in the end, Valore 425 Plus is a true all-arounder that doesn't favor any particular musical genre or frequency response, and is coming with a rich, firm and solid musical presentations that was able to convince me despite initial wariness due to questionable designs choice, like the counterweight for example, or the fits. And once I focus only on the sound quality, I can certainly say that I appreciated the excellent musical gifts. From it out is everything. I hope you enjoyed this review. Take in consideration to subscribe to the channels to support my work, and see you soon. Peace.